I always say the physical numbers and the physiological part of it. Yes, that's the statistics and that's the expertise and that sort of stuff. But I think it's more probably like 60-40 in terms of just helping people through whatever they are than the actual physical core exercise or activity. Yeah.
The mental side plays a huge part in performance
Correct.
and output and that. So I think what you're doing right now is awesome in terms of incorporating the whole picture for an
Yes.
athlete. And I think that's an important part of any coach's makeup, is understanding the human side of the athlete as well.
Yeah. It's
That's awesome.
Like when you sort of studying sports science and that sort of thing, you figure out all the scientific things and everything else. That's why I say, like with coaching also, the relationship, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and it's not because either or is not sort of obliging or not listening. It's just that sometimes the fit is just not there. Yeah, I think it's sort of, we're at an age now where performance is sort of past us. Probably 20 years, 10 or 15 years past us. And we need to sort of look after our health and sort of just get everybody involved and make it as easy as possible and accessible as possible for everybody. Yes, it's, you can sort of like look at your age group and try and compete in your age group and that sort of thing. But as I said, as we age, a lot more focus is on recovery than actual performance. Number one is sleep. If you like, obviously, get 7 to 9 hours sleep, it's like almost impossible most days to get that amount of sleep. But if you can prioritize sleep, even get an extra 30 minutes to what you used to. And the other thing that we sort of neglected for a long time was nutrition, in terms of specifically what to eat. I think sleep and nutrition are your two key focuses in terms of helping and aiding recovery. You've got all these fancy devices and the balloon legs and that sort of thing, and this recovery machine in that regard. But all of those are pretty useless if you're not doing like the basic, the fundamental.
Hi guys, before we dive into today's episode, I've got a quick favor to ask. If you've been enjoying the conversations here on Zen and Now, whether it's helped you reflect, grow, or just feel a little bit more seen, take a second to hit that subscribe or follow button on whatever platform you're listening on. Subscribing means you won't miss a single episode, and it also helps more people discover the show, people who might really need these kind of real and honest conversations. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave a quick rating or review. It honestly makes a huge difference and keeps the podcast going strong. Thank you so much. Let's get into it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Zen and Now. And on today's show, I'm joined by Jateen Bhana, the owner of Strength Labs SA. Jateen's work goes far beyond just the gym. It's about discipline, presence, and building real strength from the inside out. In this conversation, we explore what strength means when the noise fades and how physical training becomes a practice of self-mastery. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kishen. Appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've seen you've been doing a lot of good stuff, with your brand and Strength Labs, and I think it's really good to see what you're doing for the community as well.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's sort of, we're at an age now where performance is sort of past us. Probably 20 years, 10 or 15 years past us. And we need to sort of look after our health and sort of just get everybody involved and make it as easy as possible and accessible as possible for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an important thing you say, because like now it's all about just maintenance for later on in life.
Yes, it's, you can sort of like look at your age group and try and compete in your age group and that sort of thing. But as I said, as we age, a lot more focus is on recovery than actual performance. The sort of better you recover, the quicker you're able to recover, and the faster you're able to recover, you're able to train a lot better and that sort of stuff. So your training becomes smarter, you become a bit more wiser. Your training's not as hard as it used to be, or not as sort of, I think previously it was just like gung ho, sort of all out there. Whereas now you're more mindful about the training and everything else that comes with it, and focus more on the recovery to be able to sort of help you to get going again.
Yeah. Any recovery solutions that you could share with us that could be beneficial to some listeners, like who are in that moment now where like, okay, they finish their intensive workout or they finish their run or anything, and sometimes recovery is not always part of everybody's
Yes.
process.
It's number one is sleep. If you like, obviously, get 7 to 9 hours sleep, it's like almost impossible most days to get that amount of sleep. But if you can prioritize sleep, even get an extra 30 minutes to what you used to, it helps. Number one is just sort of prioritize your sleep. And the other thing that we sort of neglected for a long time was nutrition, in terms of specifically what to eat. I think sleep and nutrition are your two key focuses in terms of helping and aiding recovery. You've got all these fancy devices and the balloon legs and that sort of thing, and this recovery machine and that recovery. But all of those are pretty useless if you're not doing like the fundamentals. And it's easily accessible. It's available to everybody. Sort of sleep, yes, we need to all be better at that, and nutrition, and also timing of nutrition. So like when you finish your activity or when you finish your workout, okay, within 30 minutes or within 45 minutes, I need to be eating this or that or whatever else. And I need to be, and also sort of fueling for the workout. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this type of session or this type of workout. So, okay, cool. I need to sort of fuel for that specifically, rather than going empty the tank, as we would say. You empty the tank now, it takes you a few days to recover. So so it's just been mindful about the eating as well, in terms of what you're using before, what you're using during, and afterwards as well.
Yeah, nutrition and sleep has come up a lot in the last few years. A lot of people are taking note of it. A lot of people are paying more attention to what they put into their bodies, and I think that's a good thing. And like, going back to how we grew up as well, wasn't part of our makeup. We would just go with what our moms and would cook for us and provide for us at that time. We learned as we went along, in sport, and just watching others or taking note of what we need to do in our sport. I think, but going beyond that or taking an interest beyond that, I don't think for me was high on the list, because at a young age you really just have so much energy, you can recover quicker, your muscles don't ache as much.
And it sort of all just works out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Going back to your upbringing, I know you were born in Indonesia, same as me. What was your experience like in Indonesia?
It was I think it was a childhood where obviously it's completely different to what life is like now. We used to walk to school every morning, finish school, then we'd go to Gujarati school in the afternoon. Then you walk to Gujarati school in the afternoon, come back, that sort of stuff. And everything was very community-based, community-driven, that sort of thing. In terms of the sport as well, you were either playing sport for your school or you're playing sport for a club on the weekends or whatever it was. And it was it was openly available to everyone. And basically that was my life. It was either sport in the afternoon after school, or on the weekends club doing whatever it was, tennis, cricket, soccer, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mirror your upbringing. It's the same for me as well. School, walk to school, come home, Gujarati school, and then after the sports club or school, like you said, and there's like every single week, no rest.
You have like club training on a Tuesday and a Thursday or whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think I had one day of recovery, was Monday. That was it.
And it
but
was
not
so
even a recovery day.
it was so different. Your parents, I don't know, I wouldn't say didn't know where you were, but they didn't like they
They
know,
weren't
okay,
concerned. Yeah.
yeah, you were going for soccer training, or you're going for cricket training, or you're going here or whatever else, and that's the stuff. So I stayed basically where I grew up in Extension 1, so where the Varacha Cricket Stadium is,
Mm.
literally
That was my
across the
second
road
home.
from me. So I spent like most of my time across the road in the stadium or whatever else there. Soccer stadium was there, but that wasn't open to everyone all the time.
Mm.
And there was never concern from my parents of like, where are you or whatever else. It was always like they either knew I was at the cricket stadium or at tech grounds where we used to play soccer and that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and it was just like, okay, and parents weren't available to come and watch you play. Um,
Yeah.
I've played 100 soccer games and I don't know how many cricket games and whatever. I actually don't think my parents had ever been to a single thing. And it was just like, that was it. I remember the first time that I ran Comrades, my parents said, okay, we're going to come with you to Durban and we'll be along.
Mm.
That was the first time they saw me participate in something.
Wow.
And I think I was all at Comrades, I was like 28 years old.
Wow.
So it was the first time they've seen whatever else. So it's I think, but for most of us, it was like that.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't, our parents weren't always on the field and weren't always sort of there, but they did support you and they did sort of provide and sort of make sure that you were able to do that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of us, whoever's played sport, if you're listening,
Yeah.
in Lanesia, I think that was it. Like you said, we were lone rangers in terms of our activities.
That's it.
Like you said, support was there, but it wasn't in a physical form.
Yes.
Yeah, I think my dad used to come and watch now and then.
Right.
But generally it was just with us and our teammates and our coaches
Correct.
and whoever. Like,
Yeah.
I will say, okay, my dad and another friend's dad were always present, so
Yes.
those two parents were always present. I did feel like some of the other kids wish their parents came along. They would just drop them off and leave,
Yeah.
and that's how it, because that plays an important part in your development as well. Knowing that,
Yes.
okay, I have somebody now that I love is supporting me, and you also
Yes.
then up your game in a little bit more in that way.
That's it. And it's amazing. Like now the sort of landscapes change completely with youth sports in terms of like parents are a problem. Parents
You have
sort
to
of,
tell them to, you have to tell them to stay away.
you have to tell them to stay away. You have to tell them to stay this far back. You have to tell them to stop coaching. It just confuses a child. They're listening to two parents on the side. They're listening to the coach from the other side. And then it's like leave the coach to coach and that sort of thing. Including at training sort of sessions. And parents come to training sessions, sort of sit there through the training session and like, no, you should be doing this. You should be doing that and that sort of stuff. So it's like completely, it's a lot different from when we grew up here.
Yeah, it's a complete 180. I think, do you feel that parents are now overcompensating for the lack of the support that they have now with their kids
It
to a
could be,
certain
yeah.
extent?
Yes, in to a certain extent. You have some of those that sort of trying to live their dreams through their kids. So they also didn't have the opportunity, and now the opportunity is available. They want to make sure that they sort of children are able to grab the opportunity and take whatever they can. In terms of that, so yeah, it is half and half, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think we have this discussion most times because I used to coach, under sixes for
Right.
soccer, and then you just went up to under nines, and thankfully, like my parents, they were very understanding. They didn't really
Yes.
coach along; they would just support. I think that I was
Right.
very blessed in that way. But I would see other teams' parents like really coaching their kids from the side, and then the coach is trying to get his word across. And the kid didn't know what to do in that sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel
That's
like
true.
we had to learn on the job.
Yeah. And you see, I think like now also the youth sports has become a business. It's
Okay.
really become a business in terms of you join a soccer club or you join whatever local club, you pay a fee. and it's not cheap. You're looking at like probably 5,000 for the season. So 5,000
Wow.
rand for the season. 4,000, 5,000. On average, I think it's between 4, 5, 6,000 rand for the
Yeah, yeah,
season.
yeah.
So it's an investment for seasons like runs from March. I'm talking soccer season. We run from March till September, October. So it's over 6, 7 months. Literally, it's costing the parent about 1,000 rand a month on average. So it's an investment that they do in. It's like we paying you to do this, and now we expect a professional service. We expect a professional everything. Where
Yeah.
I don't even think we even paid soccer fees. It was just a bit. Somebody gave a donation here, and somebody gave a
Yeah,
donation
exactly.
here, and the things worked, and that sort of stuff. Where it's literally everything's become a business now. With youth sports, it's such a huge business. You have these huge coaching clinics, you have these huge coaching companies, all of those sort of things. And so you're like, I see it. You have kids at a soccer club. Then somebody will say, I'll come and offer you private lessons, to improve your child's skills. And then somebody will say, I'll offer you some sports science lessons to improve your child's skills. And it just ends up
Wow.
costing the parent quite a lot.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you invest in the money so the parent feels like, okay, I'm paying this money, so it's a
Yeah,
product,
yeah.
something that I'm buying, you need to deliver, and you need to sort of pay it back to me. And so it's
Yeah.
difficult. Yes.
What do you think the mental load or the what does it do to the child psyche? What do you think?
I think, they don't know differently. That's the way that if it's like we said, we went through the thing where everything was open, everything was free, and that sort of stuff. And that's how we're able to compare with this and that. Whereas now the child, that's the only way that they know. But there is a lot of pressure on children. And a lot of parents have sort of like, we want to join the soccer club because everybody in the community is part of the soccer club. All the kids are part of whatever else. And then they're like, but my child's not enjoying it. So I'm like, he doesn't have to play soccer. Find something that he enjoys. Find something that he's passionate about. It can be tennis. It doesn't have to be mainstream. It doesn't need to be, because soccer is like a highlight sport, especially amongst youngsters and that sort of thing. It's quick action. It's a limited time. Cricket is sort of prolonged. It takes a day and a bit or whatever. Where soccer is like high action for 60 minutes or whatever. Also, it's like a high profile. And if your child is developing good at soccer, he's put on like a little bit of a pedestal and that sort of stuff. And then like you need to explain to parents that if soccer is not for your child, then find something that works for him. Find something that he's going to excel at and he's going to be good at. Because children are under tremendous pressure, and it's now school sports is on a next level in terms what you need to achieve, and then the club sports also is on the next level, and everybody is now they're playing almost like I'm going to be able to get into a local PSL side, or I want some scout to be able to spot me or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like can be seen as like a long-term career. It's completely different, but there's a lot of pressure on the children, including from the school as well, with all the extramural activities they have to do and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I kind of look at their schedules, and sometimes I feel okay. Yeah, we did a lot too, but not to this extent. And I feel sorry for them at times.
You see, a lot of hours also was unstructured. It's a lot of structure. At 4 o'clock, I need to be there for that session. At 5 o'clock, I need to be there for that session or whatever else. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday is tennis. Tuesday, Thursday is strength training. This is soccer. And I need to fit this in. I need to fit swimming in and that sort of thing. Where I think a lot of our thing and ours was more play. It was just unstructured. Everybody would meet in the park, or everybody would be there. Cool, you guys have a knock around. And that's a lot of how we sort of honed our talent and developed our thing. And figured things out. There was no internet, there was no YouTube to sort of figure out how you do that and how you kick the ball. Like we just sort of figured it out in the park amongst ourselves or something like that. And so I was a lot unstructured, gave you a lot of freedom, where now everything's very rigid and very structured.
Yeah. No, you make a good point there. I think a lot of us learned life skills also during that time.
Correct.
Relationships, camaraderie, problem solving, those kind of things on the job,
Correct.
on the spot.
On the
And I
spot.
feel like, yeah, we didn't, like you said, we didn't have avenues to go and research and find out, okay, how do I do this? No, we had to figure it out there and there. And if you didn't
Yes.
figure it out, it played on your mind until you figured it out, because what is the closest thing we had to YouTube was the library, right? Or
That's it.
so we had to actually track to the library with your
That's
library card, go and
And then
get
try
a
to
book,
sort of
try and
out
figure it
there.
out. Yeah.
No, it's
No,
completely
look, I
different.
mean, also times change, right? We have to also adapt to the times at hand.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. No,
And
you have to. You can't be left behind.
I know your love for football goes way beyond just playing and stuff.
Yes.
When did that begin to, really say, okay, this is a sport that I love, and it's a club that, I know you support Liverpool.
Yeah.
When did that start to like really take effect for you?
I think when I was probably in like standard 5, I don't know what grade that is anymore, but standard 5 around there, sort of towards the end of primary school, just sort of starting high school and that sort of stuff. I just sort of developed a huge affinity for it, and that was my thing. It was like I used to just English Premier League. That was my thing, and I like. Your club chooses you. You never like, okay, I'm gonna go and pick this club or
Yeah,
somehow
exactly. Yeah.
Somehow you just end up supporting Liverpool, or you just end up supporting Man United. And I roughed it out through those years. Hey, because I'll say standard 5 was like 1992. So that was all. Liverpool were terrible at that time. Up until for like good 20 years or something like that, and you just sort of roughed it out and go, and so sort of probably like start of high school. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Soccer, particularly like Premier League soccer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of us in Lenasia kind of were supporting one or the other club from the EPL.
That's it.
There's very rare occasion where you find a Spurs fan or
That's
some
it.
other fan. It was either United or Liverpool. And like for me, it began very early on as well, like 6 years old, I think.
Yes.
Or even younger. Sorry, even younger. I think I was sitting on my couch with my dad and my grandfather
Yes.
watching football, and I was always with a ball somewhere, and they all supported United, and I was watching them play. And then, like you said, your club chooses you. It's not like you choose the club. It's ingrained in your.
It's just ingrained in
your-
you. Get it in.
No matter how much they struggle, we'll still support.
You'll still be there. You'll still be supporting. But like
Like
you
how
say,
we're going through that now.
It was United or it was Liverpool, and like there might have been a Spurs now here and there. Chelsea were unheard
Or
of.
Arsenal,
Man
yeah,
City were
something.
unheard of. Arsenal, one or two rare ones, yeah, but those were the original sort of where everybody started.
And I think also like that also brought us, like we call it bras in Lenasia, like together.
Yes.
One would be supporting United, one would be supporting Liverpool. But there was no animosity there. It was good banter.
Yes.
I think that was a good thing about it. A lot of us, and we played in the same team, like you said, we all played in the same team. And when that time came, we all played as a team. And then when, the discussion of football came about, we were like back and forth. And it was good banter. I think those are the days where, you really take stock of good friendship at that time.
And it's like we watched all the whatever games were available to watch. We watched all the games. We followed everything. And so it's like now children don't watch sport. They don't watch sport. It's
That's interesting.
It's I would say like probably 20% of the children watch like live sport in terms of, okay, right, I'm going to watch this game or watch that game, or I'm going to follow my team. And so there's so much other things for them to do in terms of like online games and YouTube and whatever else.
Yeah.
If they're not like the sporty type and that sort of thing, they don't watch live sport. And one of the things that when we were coaching, we would sort of tell them like, please go and watch football games. Go and watch it on TV. We sort of a few times took them to a stadium at FNB watch local games or whatever. Or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
watch it so you sort of understand and learn. And that's the difference. Is like when you watch the game, you get an understanding of the game. You understand, and they don't like youngsters these days don't really watch the sport. It's
Mm.
more about the result. It's more about they'll see what the result is. Okay, fine. They'll look at the highlights and that's it. And that's their level of watching. And not like
Yeah,
from
it's
start to finish watching the game or that sort of stuff.
so
Like
interesting you say that.
like test matches. I remember Christmas time, we used to wait for whoever's going to tour South
Mm.
Africa, and then you'd spend full 5 days watching the test match, ball by ball, and everybody's like, "What are you doing? Like nothing's going to
Yeah, why
change."
is it?
And like, it's completely different now when like children don't watch live sport. It's yeah,
Mm.
it's also
Interesting you
it's
say
a
that because my
it's
my my wife's nephew also a huge Liverpool fan,
yes.
but not interested in when the game is on, like how we are,
Oh,
right? We look at our schedules. Okay, when is
our
this game
lives are
playing?
on it.
Yeah. So I think it's true what you say that a lot of them aren't in, and you pick up so much from just watching, not just playing as well. So it's something you can incorporate. But I think also
Yes,
it comes from a personal investment and something that you have to also
correct. Yes,
do for yourself. I think there's a very small percentage of kids that actually, like you say, watch live sport, and I invested in that or interested in that particular match, or
yes,
just say, like you say, like preseason. If a team is touring your country, you make sure you try and get tickets.
but
Or
that's it.
nowadays, kids aren't really like
No,
zoned into that. They're probably more, like you said, online gaming, or they doing something else. So yeah,
yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
yeah, it's changing. Everything's changing.
Yeah, I think we're looking back at a lot of it is now come full circle in terms of a lot of people are starting to appreciate the times where we grew up.
Yes,
If you get me, if you, even on social media, I see a lot of people like nostalgically going back to like the 80s, 90s, 2000s,
yes.
reminiscing in those times where life meant something. It was a little bit more simple, a little bit more engaging. People were talking to each other physically, not just on
Yes.
an online
A
space.
little bit more challenging as well.
Mm,
I think like I always say I'm quite lucky is that we in a generation where we sort of had opportunities, but it was like limited and we had to work for things and that sort of stuff. Whereas my parents' generation, they didn't have time for sport.
mm,
They didn't have time for going to the gym or anything like that. Their aim was sort of putting bread and butter on the table, so they were working and that sort of stuff. And that was their main focus and their main drive in life. So when they started working, it's like, okay, I need to provide for my family and I need to do this, this, this. And like I often speak to my dad and ask him like, well, what did you do when you were younger? He's like, I didn't. I started working. As soon as I started working, I traveled from, I think he was in Fitas, from Fitas to Boxburg. He was doing his articles or whatever at Colgate. And then he spent the day there, leaves home at like 5, gets back at after 7 in the
yeah.
evening. And it's sort of something that they needed to do. And my dad, who's now 76,
Mm,
um, first time he went into the gym was at 60 years old, which was in
wow.
2010. So he went into the gym in 2010 for the first time in his life. Didn't have a clue, and that's the first time he actually did any physical exercise or activity. And so it's like we were quite lucky in terms of because I often have this conversation with him. He's like, oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and I was like, it's different times that we grew up in.
Mm,
Your main aim and your main focus was to provide for us, and because of what you did, we able to do that, and we able to have started working out and exercise and
freedom.
that sort of thing at a younger age.
Mm,
He's basically started working out and exercising and working towards his health and longevity at 60 years old. And he always says, I wish I started earlier. I wish I started earlier. I was like, well, you started at 60. You've already got a good 16 years in. So don't always discount like you wish you started earlier. We were only able to start earlier because of what you provided for us.
yeah, exactly.
So like you said, like our generation, if you're in your 40s now, it's a lot more active than the 40-year-olds from the previous generation and the previous generation,
Yeah.
because we were active from a younger age. Um, and a lot of it is continuing being active, especially to your 20s and 30s.
Mm.
And that sort of stuff. Whereas, like the older generation, they only 40s, 50s is the first time they start doing any physical exercise or activity. So the base that they starting from is like here, and we starting from somewhere
Starting up
there.
there. Yeah. And then the kids will
Um,
be like, oh, above us as well, going forward.
because now they getting access to all the specialized this and the specialized thing and that and that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was easy. It wasn't easy. It was difficult as well, but it was accessible. And we, as the generations go, everything becomes a bit easier and more accessible and able to make things happen.
Yeah. No, you make a good point there. Like each generation will excel at an earlier age, and maybe even
That's it.
from infancy.
And
Going forward,
also sort
infancy
of
will
like,
be
and also the longevity and sort of the health and that sort of stuff. We're able to now sort of prolong it and go a lot longer and a lot later. Um, Average age, I don't know, probably like earlier, it used to be like in the 60s, you'd hear people passing away, that sort of stuff. Whereas
that's later.
now it's sort of going out a lot later and that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I think also, but there's also dangers in terms of like how early it starts as well, because I feel
Yes.
kids don't get to play anymore. It's not just play.
Correct. No.
So
It's just,
there is dangers. I think it's one or the other, and I think we have to be very careful on how we we mold them
Exactly.
into
Es-
good human
especially like-
beings. End of the day.
Like, especially when it goes into like early specialization in a certain sport.
Mm.
You want them to play every sport possible as much as they can and that sort of thing. And then when they get older, like maybe in the teenage years, then you can start to say, okay, let's specialize in X, Y, or whatever else.
Right.
Whereas if you start in like really, really early, it's, that's the statistic of, or the glory that comes with being a professional sports person because of early specific specialization is great. But the percentage of children that actually make it
Make
is
it.
just
Yeah.
minute. Is absolutely minute. In like football, in Premier League or whatever, you have all of those academies. I think less than 5% of people go, or 5% of those boys
Yeah.
go on to
Exactly.
make it professional. In tennis, it's like less than 1% of all of those kids also go on to make it professional in SSR. So it's like
Well,
when they
it's,
do make it professional, I know they make it look so easy and it sounds so easy, but that is top elite level there. And that's
Well,
that
now it's
percent.
pedal, right?
Yeah, that's it there.
The amount of pedal courts I've seen in South Africa, I was like, oh, where's all the indoor soccer going?
No, everything's taken over. The bowls courts have been taken over by the paddle court.
Oh
And
my God.
the happiest people are the orthopedic surgeons and the physiotherapists. Because what's happening is, and people are now, it's getting people moving. Okay, so a lot of people weren't doing anything. Paddle is, it's a relatively easy sport. You don't have to expend too much energy, but you are moving and you are sort of doing something. It's a lot easier than tennis because there's a lot less running, obviously
Running,
with
yeah.
an enclosed glass and that sort of stuff. So you're not doing as much running. But a lot of people are going from not doing anything for many, many years and like, okay, now I'm going to do paddle and that sort of stuff. And Achilles are just sort of going popping one after the other. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying orthopedic surgeons and physiotherapists, paddle is their dream.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stretch, guys. Always stretch and stretch after.
Yeah.
Very important. Very, very important. So, Strength Labs. Talk to me about Strength Labs. How did that birth? What was the idea?
It started with my eldest son, who used to play soccer. I was coaching them. I think they were under 10, under 11. and it was a team mainly composed of Indian children, and they were very skillful children, very good on the ball, very good understanding. But I just found as we were playing, so we were playing in sort of the northern leagues. We'd play against Kempton in Boksburg, in Sandton, so throughout Joburg, even in the south, that they just got pushed off the ball. They weren't strong enough. They weren't really physically. They weren't able to hold their own. Somebody would just come.
Technically, they were there.
Somebody just sort of comes and pushes them, and they're off the ball. And then they look into the ref to give them a foul, but it's not a foul. It's just the guy's stronger than you. So we went through one season, and then at the end of the season, I asked the parents, I was like, I need to sort of like physically strengthen these boys up. Are you guys okay with that? And that sort of thing. And they were say, yes, that's fine. So at the time I was studying my sports science degree. My son was, they were 10, 11 years old. I was studying the sports science degree. So I said, for my practicals, I wouldn't mind just sort of helping these kids through strengthening them up, growing them, making them stronger and that sort of stuff. And so I did like a strength and conditioning program specific for football for children. All body weight stuff, all body weight exercises, those sort of things, in the off season, just to like strengthen them up. And it really made a huge difference. And it helped them in the next season. And I think then they started winning things, and they sort of saw it was working. And they're like, okay, no, this is working, and it's getting on, and it's working. And I think that the next sort of 2 or 3 seasons, up until they were like 13, 14 years old, they just kept winning games, winning leagues, winning that. So it was just a combination of the physical skill and, yes, playing well, but also the strength. So I said, okay, cool. I'm going to I've got a friend that I studied with, and he's in the UK, and he started Strength Lab Superheroes in the UK. So we said, okay, cool. And then he says, why don't you use the ideas that I have, and you can just basically run with that and see how it works. So a lot of the things is that with the Strength Lab Superheroes, you might not know, but if you look at the logo, so I know the logo is black and white, but we've got the picture logo with the superheroes in there.
Okay, yeah.
And then in the sort of thing with the superheroes, there's different colors in terms of, okay, cool. How are we going to teach children movement, and how are we going to sort of get them to understand these sort of things? And so like we started, and the first one was your, sorry, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 superheroes. Okay, so we took 5 superheroes and we said we'd mimic what they do. So we said, okay, let's take Iron Man, because he's the orange in our logo. Let's take Iron Man. And Iron Man, basically, the way that he takes off mimics a squat. Right. So all types of different squats is all Iron Man. So we sort of like told kids, okay, you're going to do Iron Man, this sort of thing, whatever else, all of that. Then the red is Spider-Man. So all types of crawling, agility, all types of that sort of movement is the Spider-Man crawling, that sort of thing. Then this sort of purple is Thor, who's basically got his hammer and he throws his hammer down. And it's like a lunge movement. So all the types of lunges in that is Thor.
Right.
Then the next one we got is the light blue, which is your Superman, which is all the types of planks that you can do. Your forearm plank and your side plank and your high plank. So Superman is like, because he's always flying there and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then the green is Hulk, which is a combination of all the exercises and all the strengths. Like if you take a burpee is a combination of all the exercises you do together and that sort of stuff. So he had developed this for UK schools, a program for UK for physical education. His wife was a teacher in one of the schools, and he went into the school and said, can I sort of develop something for you guys in terms of your PE program for the kids, 6 to 10, 6 to 12 years old. And based on that concept, he went there. Then he's like, it's working for me in the UK. Here's the program. This is what I do. Run with it. See how it goes. So Strength Lab is basically a UK company, and he says, you know what, run with it, see how it goes, open it up in South Africa. You do what you need to with it, and you sort of go on how you go with it. He never gave me any sort of like parameters. You have
Oh,
to do this, you have to do that. He says every child is different, every school is different, every country is different. So see what works for you and that sort of stuff. So
wow.
pulled up, and I was literally doing exercises of this program for a lot of children. And my afternoons were filled with children from basically when school finishes from 2 o'clock to 6, 7 o'clock. And then the parents would bring the children, sit here, whatever else. And a lot of them asked, like, but now why can't we sort of get in on this as well? I
Right.
was like, okay, that's fine. So then basically then it became in the mornings. I was like, okay, parents, you come in. I'll do something with parents. Obviously, it wasn't superhero specific, but it
Yeah.
was specific what they wanted to do. Mornings, evenings were sort of adults, and then sort of during the afternoons were kids and that sort of stuff. And then while I was still studying, so then I made sure sort of I specialized in sort of youth development in terms of just youth
Yeah.
development from a pre-teen age to sort of from like 4 or 5 years old. Because
Okay.
everywhere, like especially in South Africa, you hear of grassroots development. You know,
Mm.
in grassroots development, they're talking about these toddlers and 4, 5, 6 years old. And then you hear about 16, 17, 18. But what happens in between? Like,
Yeah.
there's nobody's catering, nobody's sort of looking out for what happens in between. It's like you
Mm.
don't go from grassroots and end up at sort of 16, 17, where now you're sort of going for trials or whatever else. And that gap in between is always missing. It's always
Okay.
not there. So even locally, like the gyms here, the Virgin Active gyms, they, I think under 13, you're not allowed to go into the gym.
Yeah,
You're
you
not
have to be
allowed
supervised. Yeah.
to something like that. Under 13, you're not allowed to use it. And then they have the club V. So under 4, you have like the toddlers area. Again, those kids in the middle are lost. They get lost in
Mm.
this thing or whatever else. There's nothing for them to do there. So that's basically where we started in terms of, okay, let's sort of cater for that. And sort of when I was studying, finishing up the sports science degree, I said I want to sort of focus on that age group and that sort of thing. Um, just to help them from coming up from adolescence into preteen and then going up into teen and that sort of stuff. And I've got like, so my son, he was the first group that we started. They were 10, 11. And I've still got some of them training. They're now 19, 20. They're in like first, second year varsity. And they still
Mhm.
come to, obviously, the training's completely changed and completely
So yeah,
different
yeah.
from what I used to do. But it was putting the fundamentals in place,
Right.
showing them how to squat when they were 9 or 10 years old, with the fun aspect of Iron Man or the fun aspect of Thor with a lunge and that. Their form and that sort of thing now, I don't need to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
It's now weight management and load management and that sort of thing and more specific sort of stuff. So it's just like giving them a good base and head start for that. Yeah, and that's basically how Strength Lab rolled out. Parents then decided they want to also join in and catered for them. And I've always done running, endurance running, long endurance running. So as part of my studies as well, I made sure sort of I figured that out, and then I do sort of running coaching on the side. And the
Right.
main focus now is basically I've got about 65 athletes that on training running programs with me in terms of they either want to do comrades or they want to do a marathon or they want to do a half a marathon. I'll give them the guidelines of exactly what they
Mm.
need to do day to day, how long, how far, how fast, how slow, or whatever else. And also, like with the running, strength training is an important aspect of the running. So then I provide sort of running specific and very functional strength training. Something that you won't get at if you go to the Virgin Active. There's a whole lot of machines there and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come into the studio, I'm working specifically on what they need to develop as a runner or as a cyclist or like somebody will say my child's playing tennis or whatever else. I say, okay, fine. And we work on specific skills for tennis or specific exercises for the tennis in terms of what we need to strengthen. Because even what you need in cricket and what you need in soccer are completely different. And even if you're playing soccer, what you need as a striker, what you need as a defender, what you need as a midfielder,
different.
Completely different. And same with cricket. What you need as a bowler and what you need as a batsman or a wicket keeper is completely different. So it's not even sport specific anymore. It's like position specific.
Position specific.
Position specific in a sport and that sort of stuff. So it's just like, okay, I need to understand what you want, what you're looking to work towards, and then okay, let's work on that. But also, yes, you work on it a little bit more, but making sure overall that you still sort of, because now you can't just work on, okay, I'm going to just work on your glutes and forget about everything else.
No,
you need
for
to
sure.
you need to sort of make sure everything else connects in and works together with that. And and that's how it's gone, and it's just grown on and on and it's grown.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think if you can get in touch with Jateen, I think it sounds like an amazing program to be a part of. I wish I was part of that program as well. It sounds awesome when I was at that age. But no, I think your program sounds really like adaptable. It's agile. It's not just like one size fits all. And I think a lot of people appreciate that because we're not all the same in terms of body compositions. So I think what you're doing is adapting it and mobile and molding it for each specific person, I think is appreciated. And for you yourself, it just goes long.
Because, the kids also all have different strengths, different weaknesses. Some are better at these things, some are better at those or whatever else. So even for them, you try and sort of make it more specific and that sort of thing. But the kids, we sort of like would do a group session where, because it's, kids
are fun. Kids need to play. Yeah,
that's it. They're more motivated by group sessions. It's more play, that sort of thing. So you like try and encourage the group sessions, but sometimes you're like, okay, do a group session, but I think you need to do one private session because we need to work on this here specifically for that sort of thing and whatever else. And similar thing with the adults as well. So like the youngest athlete I've got, 5 years old. Yeah. And the oldest,
or is it just sometimes because I know they can committed because I know sometimes they can zone out very quickly. So is your programs like specific, like catered
so it's 45 minutes
short?
The session is 45 minutes. We do 10 minutes fun warm up, just like running around, different games, those sort of things. Then for the kids, it's like literally like 20 minutes of specific exercise, specific work focus, but also very play related, that sort of thing. And then like they cool down also. It's part of play and that sort of stuff. So for them it's a lot of play and that sort of thing. So youngest is 5, and then the oldest would be my dad, who's 76. He comes in. He goes to the, like I said, 2010, he joined the Virgin Active. He goes 2-3 times a week, but he comes here and he's like, it's completely different what we're doing here. Because he goes there and he's like, he does this machine and that machine and whatever else. And his comment was, you're doing more specific for what I need in life in terms of getting up, picking things up, putting it up on the shelf or that sort of thing. So more like life specific exercises and sort of that sort of thing. So it's a full spectrum I've got from like 5 up until 76. But I'd say on average, it's like between now 40 to 50 years old, in the 40s and the 50s, in terms of the average age of the athlete that I've got.
Yeah. And you're not a franchise yet. You're just a single.
Single, all on my own.
Okay. And in your team, you've got a team, right?
Me specifically.
Okay. You don't have a team with you?
No.
Okay.
It's just myself. Everything, and I know it's like I keep telling my wife, I need to find people to do the thing. But I'm like that kind of person who's like, I need to do it. And I know a lot of people will come and train because they want to train with me. It's they don't like, I know the thing, but I don't want that guy to give. Every instructor and every person or every sports scientist has a different personality and different method or different way of doing things and that sort of stuff. So even if you give them a thing and say, do this, it's just,
Yeah.
So it's all completely on my own.
Yeah. I think you need to feel ready to pass the baton on. Because
Yes.
sometimes it's your baby. It's kind of hard to like when you get other people involved is to let go of that control.
That's,
Is it something that you something that you struggle with?
a little bit.
Okay.
But it is something that I struggle with. It's but also the where we are, where I am in life, it's sort of like, okay, that's where we need to be right now. So like a lot of people have asked me, oh, well, you know what, you need to grow and you need to do a lot more and that sort of stuff. But I sort of, my family needs me more than I can give time to
Somebody else.
expand it in terms of that. So we've got a special needs child. He's 7 years old now, and he requires full-time attention.
Right.
And so it's just like you go there, but then you sort of, so like the priority is he's the priority. So it's just is what it is. And we're like, okay, cool. So let's make it work and that sort of thing. So this year gives me the control over my time and control over everything in terms of to put him first. So whatever comes up with him first, I'm able to put him first and I'm able to do that sort of thing and whatever else. And that's how I built the business around now.
Okay. And speaking of special needs, is it something that your brand would look to incorporate a lot of more of, or cater more towards special needs in the future?
It could, but yeah, that's a very diverse field and a very different field, and I think it's almost like you need to specialize in that to be able to sort of like give that the full attention. So like he's got his own physio and he's got his own OT, speech therapist, chiro, whatever it is.
Because they specialize.
They all specialize for his specific thing. So yeah, it is. And he goes to a special needs school again where they are trained for that specific thing. So it's almost like you need to do that specifically and nothing else. And you can't sort of add it on as like a package sort of thing. So
yeah,
I wouldn't sort of go into that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know sometimes because a lot of people try and incorporate everything into one bucket and then it gets a bit overwhelming. But I think what you're doing is you've kind of like honed it down to just requirement per person, not as a holistic perspective. And I think a lot of people appreciate that because you're taking care of your need, of that person's needs, instead of just, I'm just thinking from the general public. Yeah, you do think of the general, but your programs are catered. And I think that's where people start to excel, is because then they're focusing on their strengths and their weaknesses, and then they're honing that.
There's a few times where I've had to tell people, I don't think you're the right fit. We're the right fit. It's not going to work. And it's not going to work not because you're a bad athlete or not because I'm a bad coach or whatever else. Sometimes it's just what we're looking for and how we're looking to get it is completely different. And it's okay to sort of say it's not going to work and I don't want to help you, but I think it's better if you, and obviously you've got, like I've got a community here of coaches and I know this, and I would say, you know what, I think if you want to do like bodybuilding or heavyweight lifting, I think go and see this person. You're going to get better benefit out of going to see them rather than me trying to sort of do something for you that I'm not so 100% comfortable with. And it's I'm okay with sort of like passing my business off or passing my clients off to other people, knowing that, okay, they're going to get the best out of that rather than me sort of not making things up. I sort of understand it, but it's not like what I specialize in and not what I sort of really, really good in. It's like a lot of
I feel like
people,
you care.
Yes. People say, you need to look at your coach and what your coach does in terms of the person that's coaching you. So like if you've got somebody that's coaching you, like that's a running coach, but the guy doesn't run, you're like, okay, what's that?
Why is he
Or
coaching? Yeah. What is he talking
yeah, or
about?
he's like coaching sort of running specific exercise and that sort of thing, but his main focus is bodybuilding. It's like, do
Mm,
you really?
yeah.
So you almost
Yeah.
want a coach that lives that same life that you living through, you know? And that's the focus. So it's like the people that I have that are my athletes or my clients, but I call them my athletes, though they sort of on the same path or the same journey of like where I want to be, rather
Mm,
than somebody that's like, I want to be like a hybrid athlete or I want to be sort of like a deadlifter or whatever else. I'm like, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't like specialize in that sort of thing.
all right. How do you manage your workload? I know you said you've given that you work around your special needs son now, but
Yes.
what do you do to take time out?
I run. I just run.
Okay.
I run crazy kilometers. I sort of no running and exercise is my escape. It's
Okay.
always been my escape for however long I can remember. So I plan my day as well. Whereas like obviously my busiest times are early in the mornings, like 5 o'clock in the
Mm,
morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, where everybody's trying to get in a session before they go to work. And
right.
then obviously afternoons, evenings as well when they finish work. So I'm like, okay, cool. I need to plan my day where I know I'm going to be busy there. So I'll go out for my run at 9 o'clock in the morning. Um, that's just so I'll just plan my life so that 9 o'clock I'm
Okay.
able to run. Lunchtime, if I want to do my workouts or whatever, I'll get it done at lunchtime or whatever else. That sort of thing. But yeah, no, the running and the exercise is just keeps me sane, keeps me going. It comes naturally to me. I really enjoy it. So that's really my escape from the world.
Right. Right. Yeah. Same with me. I think physical movement is something that releases those dopamines for us.
That's it. And when you don't do it, you
Something
like
is missing. Yeah.
something's missing. You feel that it's missing, and you feel it's like, oh, this year, and then yeah, everybody around you, it's just like they say, what happens if you don't run? I'm like, no, it's not what happens if I don't run. Ask the other people what happens if I
Oh
don't
no.
run. The people,
I think I have become a lot more kinder to myself in that sense.
yes,
Whereas before, I think if I miss a day, I beat myself up about it, and I'm like push myself harder the next. But
yes,
now, okay, life happens. We have
that's
other priorities, and things
that's
happen,
that,
and that's
that's
okay.
maturity. That's maturity, and that comes with age as well. I was exactly the same. It's now what 2005, 10, 12 years ago. I was pushing sort of crazy times. Crazy
Mm,
times, like comrades, I was getting silver, which is like sub
wow,
730.
that's fast.
Marathons, I was doing. I did London in 2:47. Um, that sort of thing, and that was it. Be all and end all. Everything was running. Like, and everything else would sort of just get pushed out the way or whatever else. I had to run. I had to get the thing on, and you like, you get obsessed with it, and unhealthy obsession with it or whatever else, but it's because it's healthy, you think it's fine and that sort of stuff. And as I said, like in a way, my son sort of, I needed to slow down, and that's what slowed me down.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what slowed me down, and that's what gave me perspective, and that's the sort of thing. So now you're like, okay, it's fine to sort of just chill a little bit and sort of still go and do your exercise and do whatever you need to. Um,
Don't
but you
kill
don't need
yourself.
to, yeah, you need to control it. You don't need to do that, and you sort of need to be more selective and like you say, be kind to yourself.
Mm,
Whereas previously I'd be like, okay, I got to do this race, this race, this race, this race. Now I'm quite comfortable doing 2 or 3 races a year, and sort of, but you still sort of for those 2 or 3 races, you set yourself a goal. I think 2 years ago I did cake run. I said, okay, I need to go under 3 hours again. Okay, cool, perfect. I'm gonna go under 3 hours. Great, did it or whatever. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I want to do over 3 decades, being able to go under 3 hours. So like I went under 3 hours in my 30s. I went under 3 hours in my 40s. So when I get to 50, in my 50s, I still want to go under 3 hours. And that's sort of a sort of long goal or whatever else. But you sort of slow down, you like kind of to yourself, and you're like, okay, it's cool. I don't need to do this, and I can skip a day here, and I can do this there, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes to that, and it also in terms of on the your athletes, where a lot of it, your athletes mimic the coach that you are. And if
Yes.
you
Yes.
are all out intense, aggressive, or whatever else, they also feel like they need to be the same. Whereas you're able to show them that it's okay to miss a day and it's okay to sort of not do a race or whatever else for whatever reason, then they also understand that, you know what, we're
It's
actually
okay.
doing this running thing or whatever more for health. We're not going to win the thing. We're not going to win whatever else. But it's okay to miss it and it's okay to slow down. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a bad race and that sort of thing. I think what you learn and what you sort of show from not your failures, but from what you sort of not able to
Experience.
do
Yeah.
for your experience also sort of gives them a lot of confidence in terms of them being able to like, it's okay if we don't do this. So what you as a coach, it mimics a lot what your athletes sort of do as well.
Do you incorporate, from the mental side of your coaching or do you install what's the kind of coaching from a mental side that you do with your athletes?
I'm a part-time psychologist as well.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
like you said, when you don't have a good race or you don't perform at that level that
Yeah.
you've been practicing at,
Yes.
you kind of
No, that is-
a lot of us have that because you so want to do well that you
Yes.
kind of go hard on yourself and you kind of
wanna
question
do
a
well,
lot.
You want to do your best, and you obviously always want to sort of excel.
Mm.
And a lot of times, especially when you've put in the hard work and that sort of thing, and then you don't do it, it's very disappointing for the athlete. And a lot of it is more not mental, psychological management,
Psychological,
rather
yeah.
than rather than actually worrying about the actual numbers and the physiological and this went bad and that went badly or whatever else. So rather than worrying or sort of stressing over what didn't work and that sort of thing from a physiological point of view, it's more like you need to look at what's going on in the background and what goes on and that sort of stuff. So a lot of the times, which is sort of like my wife says, I like to know my athletes and I like to understand my athletes and I like to know who I'm dealing with. So like when I do an interview with somebody, I'm like, okay, how's it going? What do you do for work? And they're like, okay, I do this here. How many children do you have? Are you married? Are you this? So I'm like trying to get a whole picture of the athlete. And I'm like, just remember like the running and the training, that is part of who you are. Family is always first. Work is always second. You can't be sort of like dodging work to go get a run in or dodging work or whatever else, or sacrificing your family because you need to do this. You're like, if you're going to do comrades, yes, there's a bit of dedication, that sort of stuff, but it's controlled and understand and that sort of stuff. So I'm always like, it's like family first, work, and then this is sort of like a recreation thing where you need to be kind and not let it become who you are. And that sort of
It's part
thing,
of who you are, like you said.
as part of who you are. And that's why I always ask them, like, what's happening in work and what's happening with this and whatever else. And it's different times. People are like, this. And they're like, then we'll just discuss. So, like, I like to have one-on-one chats with them off time to time. And you're like, I didn't have a good race and that sort of stuff. Then I'm chatting with them and I'm like, but hang on. You've been so busy at work. You've been traveling. You've been doing this. You've been doing that.
Yeah.
Your child's doing matric or whatever else and this and this and that. I'm like, look at the stress levels of everything else, and now you sort of trying to balance your running with that. Yeah, but 5 years ago, I'm like, 5 years ago, look at this. Well, tell me what you were doing 5 years ago. And I need to so often remind people of what's happening, that running or your training is not an island. It's not sort of just works on its own. It mimics everything that's happening in your life. So if you going through a stressful relationship or whatever in your thing, it's up and down. You're not going to sleep
Yeah.
if you're not sleeping enough. If your child is having a difficult time, it all then. If you're having a difficult time at work, if you're overstressed, it's so difficult um, to then perform at the sort of,
Correct.
okay, now it's supposed to be your stress release, but now you're making it sort of your number one stress. So it's so difficult to perform with all those other things. In an ideal world, when all of those other things are all lined up, you'll have the perfect race.
For sure.
And it's sort of the same like with me when I did, and like my wife also reminds me because I also forget. Like when I did comrades and I did a silver comrades or whatever else, she's like, "But you took 6 months off work, and all you did, you got up in the
Was run.
morning, you trained, you recovered, you ate, you slept, this. Now you're trying to do exactly the same thing while you're still working and while you still got a special needs child and while you're still doing that, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, and your brain will always take you back to when you were at your best.
For sure.
Your body might not be there, but your brain will.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very, very true.
I can do this, and I know I've done this, and I can always go there. So your brain will always take you back. But then you need to sort of like just, okay, but what were the factors when you did it at your best? And what are the factors now? And that sort of thing. So a lot of it is sort of helping people through whatever's going on around in their life. And then sort of saying, okay, so do you understand now why we're not at our best, or why we sort of a little bit less performance wise and that sort of thing? And it's sort of trying to get the holistic picture in to help them understand, and also to sort of like, it's okay just to have a little bit of downtime, just
Right.
chill a little bit and then build it up. And like, work is a priority this time, so then take work or whatever else. So like also when people go on holiday, they'll like go during the year, they'll go like on a week's holiday or 10 days or whatever else. They're like, okay, what are we going to do? I'm like, whoa. You go in on holiday,
Slow
and
down.
what's the purpose of the holiday? The purpose of the holiday is just to relax, get away from it, to break out from schedule. With the, like, say you follow in a running program, that's a schedule. Like, okay, I got to do this today and I got to do that today or whatever else. It's not fair on your family that you're taking on holiday.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're now going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You tell everybody the night before, no, we need to get home. We need to go to sleep early or whatever else because I need to go and run in the morning. I'm like, just go and do a maintenance plan for the week. Run when you can. If you can, just chill, whatever else. That 1 week is not going to derail your whole program.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you've been training for 24 weeks, 1 week in between is actually going to benefit you because now you just a little bit chill, but more time to recover. And then you come back the following week, you start again, you got more energy, and you go back in that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's actually a very, very important part of the coaching and of the running journey in terms of sort of just helping people through whatever they're going through. And I always say the physical numbers and the physiological part of it. Yes, that's the statistics and that's the expertise and that sort of stuff. But I think it's more probably like 60-40 in terms of just helping people through whatever they are than the actual physical core exercise or activity. Yeah.
Yeah, the mental side plays a huge part in performance and output and that. So I think what you're doing right now is awesome in terms of incorporating the whole holistic picture for an athlete, and that is appreciated because a lot of the times our coaches just focused on technique and skill, not on the mental side of it, because a lot of us just focused on, like you said, your body will take you back to where you were when you were doing well.
Yes,
exactly. So I think what you're doing right now is just trying to bring them back to present and reality, and not look too far back or not look too far forward.
Yes,
exactly. And I think that's an important part of any coach's makeup, is understanding the human side of the athlete as well.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Like when you sort of studying sports science and that sort of thing, you figured out all the scientific things and everything else. And we did do like a few psychology modules in the sports science degree. But you never think that that's going to be like the biggest part of your thing. And again, it depends on your personality and what you sort of working towards and how your personality comes across. in terms of how people take to you. And that's why I say, like with coaching also, the relationship, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And it's not because either or is not sort of obliging or not listening. It's just that sometimes the fit is just not there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
you
like any
and
relationship, right?
and when the fit is there, it works amazingly.
Yeah.
You can take like a really average or person that didn't even used to be an athlete, and you can achieve so much with them when that fit is there, when the confidence is there, when the motivation is there, and when they sort of like trust you, and you're like, okay, let's go. Um,
Yeah. Synergy.
yeah,
It's a very
exactly.
important part of any relationship or anything that we do in life. We have to, you know, be synergized and be at one
That's it.
with what
Correct.
we want to do and who we want to be with. But no, I think what you're doing right now is amazing, and I think whoever wants to get in touch with you, how can they, or if they're interested in joining Strength Labs, how can they get in touch with you?
Our website, www.strengthlab.co.za. There's a information contact me page there. I think that's the easiest. Get through
Okay.
there or probably on Instagram at Strength Lab SA.
Okay. Yeah, and I will leave links in the description below.
Okay.
And check them out, guys. Yeah, I think if you're looking for a really functional, really good balance of coaching, I think check Strength Labs out. I'm pretty
Cool.
sure that there'll be some benefit to it as well. But no, in closing as well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the goal, is to just to improve even just a
Just improve.
percentage of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, in closing and looking ahead, what's next for Strength Labs, and what's next for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the focus, I think, like we said, is shifted in terms of I'm helping a lot of older athletes just be more functional and just sort of move. It's become less performance related, but again, like I said, everything's a reflection of myself. The whole business is a reflection of myself. 10, 15 years ago, I was all about performance and all about I need to get the PB and I need to chase this or whatever else.
Numbers.
Now I'm a lot more mindful in terms of, you know what, we need to just be moving. We need to just be physical. We need to be able to do things. We need to be there for our children. We need to be there for our family. And to be, I think, remain independent for as long as possible. Like we're at an age where our parents are getting older. And you sort of notice how they slow down. And you remember, obviously, when they were active and busy with you, and you notice how they slow down, and you need to help them a little bit more. And it's just like trying to keep that independence for a bit longer. So a lot of focus is more, not more on that, towards that, in terms of what can we do so that, to help this. Who can we sort of get in to help with, say, the nutrition, or if we need some external help with whatever else and that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
So it's more of a focus on that there, and just sort of helping people. Like at the end of the day, we're not an elite athlete organization. We basically, for your normal person that's got a 9 to 5 job or a work from home job or whatever it is,
That's just looking for.
that still needs to remain active and needs to be competitive and do the best that they can. So it's just helping people through that at the moment. And obviously, like we say, the world is now all about movement and all about just being more active and
Mindfulness as well. Yeah.
mindfulness and being out there and all that. And it can be overwhelming because there's a lot of stuff online and like you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do and that sort of stuff. So it's just sort of in that space where we sort of like want to help people just be independent for a lot longer, and help them achieve whatever they need to or whatever they can.
Jateen, thank you so much for sharing sharing your experiences, sharing Strength Labs with us. I think a lot of people would be interested in listening to this as well. So guys, you guys know the drill. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Just help the channel and I can bring you a lot more people and inspirational people like Jateen, who's trying to leave the world a little bit more with movement, and in terms of longevity. I think that's the most important part. I think that's the takeaway from all of this, is just allowing us to be a little bit more agile in our as we go along, and be independent. I think that's the most important part. Yeah, to be able to be independent and just live a healthy life. Excuse me, until the end. But thanks, Jateen. I appreciate you taking the time out today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And yes, guys, until the next one, stay zen, and cheers. Bye.